This is the Fantasy Football Gameplan, where we talk about fantasy football and the NFL.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great. How about you?
Kicking it. Lots going on today in the NFL. It's hard to keep on track. I was hoping that the rosters would be released a little bit earlier in the day, but it's always good to see them come out, I guess, at 3 p.m. Western time, Pacific time.
What do you want to start with? A couple things to get to before we go over our mock draft.
All right.
Cam Newton getting cut.
That's a surprise. I read that at 8 o'clock in the morning or 7. So that was, I guess, on their game plan. I wonder who they picked up. Another fullback, another tight end.
Well, they got to get it down to 53. So I think they're just going to go with their scrub backups that they have, Stidham and Hoyer. But I guess it's Mac Jones's team now. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. J.K. Dobbins blows out his ACL and his LCL and a whole bunch of other things, and he'll be gone for a long time. That's a pretty big hit if you've had your fantasy draft already and he's one of your guys.
That is true. Did you see the injury?
I did. I saw a couple of ugly replays. Yeah, from certain angles it didn't look so bad, and then I saw an angle that did not look good at all.
I know. So that bounce back might be tough, but yeah, definitely. I think I've learned in the past that I know people are eager to pick their teams, but getting your team closer to the end of, I guess it's third week of preseason is really the best option because, what are you supposed to do if you wasted your first round or second round high pick on him because you knew he was going to be a workout horse for them? So I forget who they signed in his replacement. I read something about that.
Well, they had Todd Gurley in for a visit earlier in the season, so there was something made of that. But his knee is still a problem. So the Gus bus, you can always ride the Gus bus. He's a great player. And then they've got some other guys in their building that they like that they'll substitute in on third down to catch the ball and things like that. But definitely a big loss because when Dobbins is on the field, you can run it or throw it.
Yep.
Next one, Travis Etienne. I don't know if we covered that last time, but James Robinson takes a huge leap because he's gone for the year also.
Yep, we covered that last time.
Okay, and then just Michael Carter's sort of dinged up for the Jets, the draft pick, and from what people are saying, he's not going to be their number one guy. People are talking about Tevin Coleman taking over the starting role there, and then another guy named Ty Johnson getting sprinkled in as the number 2. So that's kind of a big update. And again, I hope you haven't had your draft yet because you probably drafted Michael Carter as the number 1 back on that team.
Yeah, that's interesting outcome for sure because he, with one of the worst receiving cores probably in the league, you'd think that they were going to focus on the run. At least be a run-heavy team with him carrying the ball. So interesting. Coleman's a good running back. That's good knowledge to know. Going into your drafts.
Yep. And then Irv Smith is a tight end that I had drafted in one of our other previous mocks, and he's got a knee injury, meniscus. He'll be gone for a while. And they traded to the Jets to get Herndon from the Jets. To replace Irv Smith. So keep that in mind when you're drafting tight ends. Another one I thought was really something of note was Trey Lance apparently has a chipped bone in his one of his fingers on his throwing hand. And so it gives us a bit of clarity going forward about who's the starter going to be for week 1, which is just around the corner. So Garoppolo's going to be the starter. I'm pretty much saying that. They haven't said that, but I mean, your backup QB has got an owie. So, I mean, I'm not saying he's not going to play at all because it looks like they're going with some kind of weird platoon there with the 2 QBs. But looks like Garoppolo's the starter.
I only caught 2 minutes of that game, and the 2 minutes I got was with him throwing the ball, releasing it, and getting dinged. So interesting that's how it's going to call out. They're only saying 1 week, but 1 week could last 3 weeks or whatever. Just one of those irritating sort of injuries.
Yeah, and he's a quarterback they like to run with, so it doesn't mean that Trey Lance won't play. It just means he won't throw it as much as Garoppolo will, at least to start the year.
Mhm.
Okay, well, we're kind of on the clock today, so I'm going to pull up the mock draft that we did recently, and we can go over sort of an updated version of a mock draft that we did. So recently we did a mock draft to get a more updated version. And you and I picked the 11 and 12th.
Well, that's where we got slotted. Right?
That's where we got slotted. So, of course, the guy started with McCaffrey, and we've sort of gone over some of these early picks before, and I'm surprised Barkley's still going that high. The thing of note that I thought for the first round that was interesting was that Kelsey went number 8, which we've talked about before, people employing that strategy. But we got through the whole first round without anybody taking a wide receiver.
Devontae Adams, number 10.
Oh, yeah, okay. I stand corrected.
Yeah, Jones and then Devontae. So,
okay. Right.
Interesting pick there for your number 1. Let's see how Team O'Neill does on the way down. So this is a PPR league too that we're drafting in, 12-man PPR league. So
yeah. Yep. So there we are. There, you're coming in at pick number 11, and you went with Najee, and then I went Chubb, and then I went Gibson. So I'd get some running backs here because I'm picking 12th, and there won't be any running backs by the time I come around again. And then you and I were thinking the same way because you went with Taylor.
So this is what I was just alluding to, is that this O'Neill guy on a PPR league decided to use his 10th pick on 2 wide receivers. So he picked up Devontae Adams and Hill. So he stacked, as you and I guess, just talking to each other, we're like, there's so many less production running backs. You got to fill up your running backs at this point if you're just drafting at these spots, because yes, these 2 receivers may give you a lot of fantasy points. However, they also get double covered, triple covered in a lot of the games. So,
yeah, and Team O'Neill's nuts. He's going with the 0 running back strategy. I'm really curious to see who he takes next because he needs help at that spot, and he doesn't draft for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So
20 more spots. So
right.
Who does he pick up?
So we get, Mixon. We've got some top
But Mixon,
receivers.
let's talk about Mixon. Like, is he even worth this? I would pick a wide receiver over Mixon. This guy has been in the NFL for a while. I don't see him. I've never seen him really, really produce. Now, Cincinnati just got injured, like another offensive line. Like, they have no offensive line. So, like, just teams are just going to be blowing this backfield up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Mixon seems to disappoint every year. There's usually an injury, and then your point about the offensive line is true. I mean, I guess there just aren't that many running backs, and he also doesn't really share that backfield with anyone because Gio Bernard is gone now. So people are liking the amount of opportunities that he's getting, but as you pointed out, their O-line is bad, and they're going to be behind a lot. So I agree with you totally.
I don't know. My league has minus points, so if you like having minus points on your scorecard, then pick Mixon, I guess.
Okay. So some big receivers are going now in the second round. Diggs, Hopkins, Ridley, Metcalf, AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson. That's so round 2 seems to be the receiver round. And then here we are, Clyde Edwards-Hilaire. I do not trust this player this season. Just we've talked about it before, but there he is. And then you were going to say?
Oh, I was just going to be like, it's interesting that this person picked CEH, but the next one up is Waller. Like I would like this picking first has a pretty solid tight end, could be one of the most productive tight ends coming out of this year. He was definitely last year, and follows up with McLaren. So
Yep.
you know what a great pick. I don't know what 23 is thinking, that his next best option is Montgomery as a running back that, you know, can produce. I know Cohen is injured, so maybe he will get production, but you know, it's just kind of interesting where this player was thinking about. Like Keenan Allen would have been above Montgomery, but whatever. It's everyone has their own teams. My team's not the greatest in this one too, so I don't know what I'm really mocking about.
Where's our guy with the 2 receivers? What did he do?
Oh, 10 O'Neill.
Okay.
So he picks up a CD Lamb who's COVID right now. So
this guy's seriously going 0 running back. I mean, he's going in the 4th round with no RBs.
mm-hmm.
And then here you are with another one. So, and a starter, that's a good pick.
Well, I guess in this instance, I just looked at the running back room, and I had probably a lot of people in my hold queue, and he was best man up. So, you know, picking somebody like this, you know, I think was a smart move on my part. And you picking up Mahomes, knowing that you're never going to pick for another 20 more rounds.
Yeah,
I think is a smart move. I think you were, when I looked at your draft, I was like, oh, he's copying my strategy that we talked about, where like you want to pick up the best position on the board.
Yeah. I had to choose between getting a good receiver or the best quarterback. So I went with the best quarterback. And then I knew that I could pick a receiver next. So I picked a pretty good one in Godwin. And then it came around to you, and you went with, I know you love your Panthers. So there's DJ Moore.
Yeah, kind of disappointed with my receiver pick in this class. Definitely a learning on my 4th round for when I do my own drafting. I'm really going to take a deeper and better look at my receiving core to see which one should be coming off the board at this time. I think there was some other probably more desirable picks after me instead of DJ Moore, but it's still a solid pick in my half. For instance, like you do have Cup and Cooper and Thielen, who's banged up right now.
Right.
Higgins, no offensive line. Lockett, he's banged up.
Yeah, here we are. Johnson.
Devon, I have problems with Pittsburgh because there's too many people catching the football on that team. Like they just have studs all over the place that lining up. So who's getting the ball? Devontae Johnson was Ben Roethlisberger's favorite target last year. However, you alluded to that he drops passes in clutch position. So your number 3 receiver, Claypool, is not even on the board until way, way later.
Mm-hmm.
And Juju Smith will be coming up soon, I think. So very difficult when it comes to who's going to get the ball, who's going to get the reps with that.
Right. And just scrolling down, we've got Julio here. We still have a starting running back, Mike Davis. Interesting in the 5th round, the guy you can go get. There's your tight end Hawkinson. So still some good players here in the 5th and going into the 6th. Yeah, I'm interested in you taking Jamar Chase. Talk a bit about that, because I got something to say there.
This is what I was talking about, that I really had to do a better research on my 4th and 5th round receiver picks, because I really wasn't in the headspace to understand who was there and who was available. So picking Chase, I thought he would be a high production guy because he's like that teammate mentality with the quarterback, Burrow. So anyways, that's sort of where my mentality was with that. I'm not really, like I said, I was not excited at all about my receiver picks.
Yeah, I watched the last preseason game where Joe Burrow came on, got a standing ovation. He threw one pass to his buddy Jamar Chase. It was the easiest pass that you can have. And just like on the team that you and I used to coach, just a simple screen pass, and the receiver dropped it. And I couldn't believe that Jamar Chase, that's the easiest pass you can get. I don't know what's going on with him, but he seems to be dropping every ball that comes his way. And I'm really down on Jamar Chase right now. Okay, that wraps that up. So then we're going to Damien Harris, whose stock has gone up because Sony Michel's gone to the Rams. And now we know who his starting quarterback is, and it's not Cam Newton, which means he'll be getting more goal line type carries.
Right.
So I went with Sony Michel because I figured, he's going to start getting a lot of work with the Rams. So I took him. But now we're into more quarterbacks and more.
Well, hey, I picked Debo. There
you
that
go.
Was probably one of my better picks. But coming in sixth, who knows what his production is going to be? But I thought that was a solid pick, and he's always producing. That guy, and if you can get him on your team, get him on your team.
Yeah, San Francisco's offense looks really strong, and as many pieces of it as you can get. I think they just stormed through Las Vegas. I mean, Las Vegas just was totally lost in that game, and I know it was mostly backups, but night and day between those two teams. San Francisco looks really good, and Las Vegas does not.
The running back for the Rams is Darrell Henderson.
Right. There you go.
He has an injury.
Okay. Sony Michel, stock up. There's Juju. There's Brandon Ayuk, the other receiver for the Niners, who is also a good pick, I think, on a good team. And here we go. Now we got bargain receivers. Judy. We got an injured Prescott. We got OBJ, Lamar. So a lot of QBs coming off in this sixth round here.
I noticed that. I was quite surprised about how many quarterbacks were coming off, because I think Murray was up at the top too. But interesting strategy for these four players to all be thinking the same thing on their six to pick up their, because all these quarterbacks that are coming off the board right now, they're all pretty much, including the guy that you got, Patrick Mahomes, all pretty much will be great 20+ point guys, right?
Yeah, here's Russell Wilson in the seventh round. I mean, that's a great pickup.
Oh yeah, this number one guy, like really drafting number one in the snake and ladders, like, if you don't get the injury bug, you got the craziest advantage, because he has Robbie Anderson, then he just picks up, Russell Wilson, so he's going to get 100 yards running a game.
Mm-hmm.
Logan Thomas is interesting, being such a high pick for a tight end. Maybe it's because it's a PPR league. I'm not really too sure. I don't know about that pick so high.
Yeah, I think tight end is it's really hard to get a good one. And he was decent last year. And
but better than Andrews, like Mark Andrews?
I didn't.
He hasn't gone off the board yet. Trust
me,
he's not off the board.
Okay, no, I'm going to believe you. Okay, well, let's see where Andrews comes up.
Kittle, Kelsey, Hawk, and then him the fourth, Logan.
Okay.
Interesting, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that. That might be a little high.
Oh, this guy stole Corey Davis from me. I was like, shucks.
Okay.
So then I picked this Chenard Jr., number 10 from your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick, because there's a lot of talk that he is going to get the Etienne touches, and they're going to make him the Swiss Army knife. And he's going to be the gadget guy and get the ball a lot. So I think that's a good pickup on your part.
Yeah, and then you picked up the other guy that's getting a lot of press these days too, Mooney. His stock is like gone up. I don't think he'll be available at 80. He might still be in like the round 7, 8, but he's been getting a lot of attention as they're coning him as like the big number 2 in Chicago.
Yeah, he's a good route runner, and he's tough. He's tough to cover one-on-one in man coverage. So he's going to be tricky. The only thing is that he needs a good quarterback throwing to him, and it's the Bears. So we'll see how soon Fields gets regular snaps, but to start the year with Andy Dalton, he might not be that good. But I mean, I think as the season goes along, and we see Fields more, Mooney might be, a steal.
Mhm.
And Russell Gage is just a good, solid receiver on sort of a solid offense.
Yeah, well,
So-
if Ridley is being covered, and we talked about Ridley's size, Gage could get those, probably those 50-50 jump balls, more
yeah.
options. So good pickup on there. And then I guess I was watching the draft to pick a tight end, and just making sure that if I was going to use a draft pick to pick up somebody that could potentially get me a couple catches and touchdowns in the game. So picking Tanyan here was my strategy, because the draft was looking like there was not going to be any tight ends. They would be sitting there with fat.
Right. Right. And then Mr. Zero running back guy is just loading up on receivers still.
Yeah.
So I lost track of who his running backs are, but they can't be.
I'll go back here.
Yeah, take a look. I'm just curious about that. I mean, he's just
So he was the guy who picked up Murray, and then he picked up Fuller. So he has no running backs right now. He went for Fuller, who's injured or suspended, and then he's picking up Boyd, which is okay, great, pretty awesome.
What the hell? So he literally has zero running backs. So for those people that might be watching this, don't do that.
Yeah. Well, Fuller's suspended for 2 games. So
yeah, but you can only play at the max 3
3
receivers.
And a flex, maybe 4. In my league, we have 3 starting receivers and a 4th flex, tight end, and running back, or whatever. But this is getting ridiculous. But so let's continue to see what goes on with this. So Kenyon Drake, there you go. If Jacobs isn't producing, you got a solid number 2 back there.
Yeah.
There's that Noah Fat. There he is, right there. I
Yeah.
didn't know he was coming off the board so fast.
Yeah. Well, in the 8th round, but they've got a starter there, Teddy Bridgewater. I think we failed to mention that, but Bridgewater had 3,000-yard receivers last year in Carolina, so he knows how to distribute the ball.
Mm-hmm. Michael Thomas, what?
Does he still play? Does he still play football?
Was this person not watching? Was not listening to anything? Like, what's going on here? DJ Chalk, great, but he's injured. Fournette, there's a starting running back. Wow.
Okay.
And Marvin Jones, also injured, but we'll catch balls. We'll get them.
Yeah. Marquise Brown, injured also.
Injured.
Yep. And there's Tom Brady in the 9th round. Good deal. And we're down to really, really weak running backs now. I mean, Zach Moss, Buffalo never runs the ball, so pretty much useless to have on your team. AJ Dillon, the number 2.
Galloway. I don't know. I think he should be higher. Michael Thomas isn't playing. Who's catching the ball in New Orleans? If they're even playing in New Orleans anymore.
No,
they're playing somewhere else because of Ida.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, O'Neal found a running back. James Conner, back up in the Cardinals. Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what? At least he didn't auto pick.
Hey, in the last 2 years, yeah, he probably did. In the last 2 years, I think that's exactly what it was, actually, Sean. I think you nailed it. He was auto pick. But in the last 2 years, O'Connor, in the first 8 weeks, was in the top 5 running backs when he was a starter.
Yeah, those days are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Philip Lindsay, however, is a starting running back. So I think this is a great pickup for you because he's a ball catching running back and they're going to be losing. And he could probably, beat the linebackers that are going to be covering him on 3rd downs.
This is where my draft kind of turns around and got way better. I was good at the first, maybe I would say I was mediocre in the first 3 or 4 rounds. And then I kind of crapped the bed there. And then now I figured out what I was doing. Because who was sitting with RB1? at such a late round.
Yeah,
I was,
that's a
I was,
steal.
I was, yeah. And same thing with Singletary.
Yeah, I mean he's he's a better player than Moss to draft. I stand by what I said with the Buffalo running backs because they just throw the ball on every down, but he can catch it. I mean,
He's on my bench.
Sure.
He's on my bench coming in for bye weeks, and he's not scoring points for you. Excellent pickup.
True. Okay. If you do say so yourself. Mike Williams, great
Never
player.
catches the ball.
Great player, always hurt. Mike Williams. Love
Never
him.
gets the ball thrown to him.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's not too bad when he does get the ball. He makes some crazy catches and then he gets injured and then he's on the bench for 3 weeks. And it's getting pretty thin down here. I'm not happy about any Colt receivers because now Carson Wentz has COVID. So he won't be playing week 1. I don't know who the backup quarterback on that team will be, but I don't expect them to throw very much to any of the Colt receivers.
I was kind of surprised that he did not have his shot.
Well, let's just say that it's not helping me become a Carson Wentz fan, especially I'm not going to draft him. These guys who aren't getting shots. I think that might have been a factor in Cam Newton being asked to leave town in New England because we know he's not vaccinated either. And you just can't have that in the middle of the season.
No. And you're causing problems for your locker room. So you're probably right on that accord that he's just Belichick didn't see eye to eye with him. It's just like, okay, you know what? I can do what I want to do. You're fired.
Yep, pretty
Good luck.
much.
Good luck being in the weight room 7 days a week.
So here's Michael Carter. We were talking about him earlier. He's injured and he's also not the starting running back. So here he's gone ahead of the other guys on his team. We're in the 10th round. And that's too high to draft Michael Carter. But here's a good deal. Jamal Williams, starter.
Yeah. He was on my wait list, but I figured I would pick up some other players before him, knowing that Swift is injured and he's going to be a solid, 3 down. Like he'll get 3 yards of carry kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and he catches the ball, and they're going to be behind, so he's a good 3rd down back. But with the other running back Swift being injured, he probably will play on 1st and 2nd down quite a bit too. So that's something to think about here. Really late, you can still grab him and have good value. Too bad our guy O'Neill didn't cop to that. Didn't figure that one out.
Well, I think you nailed it. I think he was an auto draft.
Okay. Well, getting towards the end of it now. Nyheim Hines, I guess they're going to be running. Sermon. That's a good pick. Before Nyheim Hines, he went Sermon. That's a talented player on a good offense. And we know how much Mostert gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good pickup on his part. And Cole Beasley, there's another anti-vaxxer coming up in round 11. You can get him if you want him, but I don't want him because I'm not going to draft anybody I know isn't vaccinated.
Jacoby Myers being wide receiver 1 coming off at the 11th round.
Yeah, and I think with Mac Jones being declared the starter, his value goes up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. If you need a number 1 receiver on a pretty decent team, then here you go in the 11th round. You can get this guy.
Hey, Mike Ingram got injured too, or was already injured and played injured and then got re-injured or just sustained an injury.
Are we talking about Melvin Ingram with the Broncos?
I'm talking about Evan Ingram, tight end, number 127 on the board.
Evan Ingram,
Yeah,
the tight end. Yeah,
Yeah.
He's usually always injured. So not surprising to see that he's injured again. Okay.
David Johnson. St. Brown, there's number 1 receiver still on the board. T.Y. Hilton, injured.
Always. Paris Campbell. Don't bother with any Colts receivers. Okay, well, we're getting towards the end of it here, but you can still get Trevor Lawrence,
Perfect.
you know, in
James
round
White,
12,
always producing.
starter.
Good guy on your bench.
Yeah, he'd be very low on my bench with the style of play. That's, well, you know what? With Mac Jones, I think his value goes up a bit because he's a pass catching running back, and Cam Newton skips those balls off the turf, but Mac Jones can actually hit James White.
See, there's a lot of players here that they just kind of like, if I was drafting in the 13th round and I had like a high 1 or 2 pick, maybe this got into auto drafting mode because you'd be going for like a solid defense. Like it just kind of doesn't make sense that these guys that were picking so well are now switching into just, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
just weird drafts.
3 rounds left. You got to get a kicker and a defense with 2 of those picks. So I guess guys are jumping on the ability to get one of the better defenses first. And yeah,
which is what you did. I needed a quarterback, so I picked up Rothy. So,
yep. And so I got the best kicker and I got the best defense.
Yeah, I picked up a pretty solid defense. I think the Broncos are going to be solid this year too.
Your boy Sly got cut from Carolina, unfortunately. Okay, well, I'm just scrolling through here so everybody can see sort of how it finished up. Interesting. Oh yeah, the numbered guy, the Steelers defense. Wow, that guy that picked number 1, he's doing pretty well here. Okay, getting towards the end. Oh, there's your kicker, Tyler Bass. I took Fitz as a backup QB. Cousins, another backup QB. Oh, I went against my own word. I drafted a guy who's not vaccinated. So if this was my real team, I wouldn't be doing that.
You picked up 3 quarterbacks. I think that you just had these guys in auto queued up or something like that. It's kind of funny that you picked up 3.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure who my backup quarterback was going to be at this point. I mean, probably I'm only going to play one of these 2 guys in Mahomes bye week if this was my real team. So if one of these guys was crap, I would let him go. But I think they're both sort of sufficient number 2 quarterbacks. Yep. Otherwise, I liked my roster. So I was just filling out the spots. And that's it. Prater. It's the last. There's your guy, the party man. That's the last pick of our draft.
Yeah, if we were going to play team, Woolsey would be a hard guy to beat.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go.
It was good. It was a good learning experience for me on this one. I came in with some research, but I don't think I had the wide receiver core as much dialed as I had the running back. So over the last 3 days since we've had this draft, I've really kind of honed into my draft pick, which is draft 7 of a 10-man league, and really looking at best man up possibilities for myself going forward. So, I'm prepping for my own draft. These mock drafts are fun, and you get to learn lots. I even tried last week doing the mock draft on an app and see the user experience on that. I thought it was I use the Yahoo app for my league, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. No hiccups. If I was sitting in a coffee shop and I had my fantasy draft, I'd feel no problem to using their app to draft from. So yeah, it was cool. It's good. I'm going to do a couple more though by myself on my own.
Yeah,
like I said, coming up Labor Day is my draft at 8:00, and I want to make sure that all this conversation that I've had over the years really does pay off. So,
yep, keep practicing, keep mock drafting. It just makes you better on the day, and keep following the last minute updates about injuries and cuts and trades, because now we're getting into the season now. Things are always happening, and you got to pay attention. Don't be one of those guys that sort of just lets things get by you, let other people scoop you. You gotta pay attention if you're gonna play. It's really competitive, and we all have busy lives, but it's a fun game and it moves pretty quick. So
Scupa was never picked in our mock draft.
who was?
Scupa, I remember that kicker, Scupa, whatever his name is, last name is. Scoop?
No, I don't know.
who he is.
No, I don't know who that is.
I thought he played in the NFL. Oh well.
Okay. What position did he play?
Kicker.
Suck up.
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
guy.
the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl winning kicker, Ryan
Yeah.
Suckup. Yeah,
Suckup.
okay. No one picked him.
No one picked him.
I guess everybody thinks that they're going to score touchdowns and not field goals this year. So
Point after still count, don't they?
yeah, they're 1 point instead of 5 for a 50-yard field goal.
Hey, 1 point is better than no points.
Yeah, true. Okay, well, thanks for doing this with me, and
Yeah.
It's-
Enjoy the rest of your day, and good luck on your draft.
yeah, you too. Mine's the same day as yours, so we'll get together the day after the draft and compare notes and get ready for the season.
Yeah, sounds
I'm
good.
I'm doing an auction, and you're doing snake and ladder,
Mhm.
so we can do the comparison and see how we think the other guy did.
Perfect.
Okay,
Awesome.
man.
Well, Sean, always a pleasure, and yeah, we'll chat next Tuesday. Oh yeah, this is happening every Tuesday.
Yeah.
So we're going to be posting it for Wednesday morning. So
Right. Every Tuesday we'll record, and we'll post every Wednesday in time for the waivers that come out.
cool. All right. Well,
Okay.
chat with you soon.
Yep. Have a good night.
Bye bye.
See you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Football Game Plan.